Good afternoon. This is Barb, and you're listening to ESL Level 3, Lesson 4. And we're going to talk a little about writing basics today and learn a little bit about some ways to make different ways you write. And today we have Miss Dee Dee. She's filming us. She's graciously volunteered to do that. And we have Mr. Chuck that's going to represent our students. Okay. Now, the first thing we're going to do, if you listen to Lesson 2, we're just going to review just a little bit and see if you remember that. If you didn't, it's okay. But we're going to review it just a little. Okay, now the topic that I listened to was past and present tense or past present tense. Okay, I was picking up sticks for my neighbor yesterday. Now here's two choices. We're going to see if you remembered which the correct one was. While I was drinking coffee. We'll do it tomorrow, and I should have had it also there. Okay.
A.
Okay, A is correct because here we have present, and here we have past because it was yesterday, and here we have present. Okay. Did Henry finish raking the lawn? A, still hard at work. B, yes he did, he was happy. Or C, maybe tomorrow. Chuck, what do you think?
B.
B, yes he did and he was happy. That's correct because here is your present tense. Here is the past, he was done. And he was happy is also past. Or this would be, if you started here, this would be present. That'd still be present, so that wouldn't be past, present, continuous. Or if you looked at this one, this would be past and this would be future. So, tenses aren't really a big issue with us. The only thing that tenses do for us, if you get the wrong tense in a sentence, sometimes it sounds really strange. You probably will get your message across, but it's not, let's put it this way, it's not the right way to do it, and somebody would pick it up right away. So the logistics of it are more important than what it really means, if you understand what I'm saying. Okay, and last week we was in lesson 2, we also talked about what is a debate. Now today, I'm just going to ask you to give me a specific example of two people that may have had a debate and over what. Mr. Chuck, what do you think?
Well, I'm thinking of President Trump and
Biden.
Biden. I forgot his first name.
It's okay, Joe.
Yeah, Biden.
Okay, and they had a debate, and most of you may have seen it on TV, where they had all kinds of political issues they were going over. Now we have a few vocabulary words for this week. The first one is pronounced tremendous.
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 Okay, this particular word is in reference to something that's extremely exciting or big. If you go up and you see the giant trees in California, you look at them and you say, this is a tremendous tree. It's just more than you ever imagined it looked like. Or sometimes if you would go to a giant mountain and you would see how beautiful that mountain is, you would say, this is tremendous. Or maybe it's something, you got a brand new car and you just can't wait and it's red and it's great, you would say, this is a tremendous car. Okay, here's another one. Journal.
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 Okay, and you probably may know this already. If some of this is review for you, just kind of bear along with us. A journal is a book similar to like a diary where you record different thoughts you may have. Now you may be thinking about food all the time, or you may be thinking about your children, or you may be thinking about lots of things, and you write it down on a continuous nature. In other words, every day or weekly or whatever, you write something down. Okay, and we'll go on a little bit about that later. Yes, Chuck?
Would that be like the Bible and the New Testament?
It would be, yeah. The Bible is a journal, but it doesn't put things in like a daily slot or a weekly slot,
right.
But it is very much like that. It's a continuous story or continuous events. Okay, appointments.
Appointments.
And we pretty much probably already know what that is. It means you have to be a certain place, a certain time, or do a certain thing on a certain date and time. We'll go over that a little bit later. Installed.
In hall.
Let's try that a little bit different. Installed.
Installed.
Not quite even yet. Let's pay attention to our ED and our in and our ED at the end. Okay, let's start again.
Installed.
Correct. Installed.
Installed.
That's great. You got it. You nailed that, puppy. Okay. Cousin.
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 Okay. If I had a sister and I had a daughter and she had a daughter, the daughters would be cousins. Okay, that's a little tricky, but the main thing you have to remember is it's a relation. They call them relatives.
Right.
Like niece and nephew would be the boy version of a cousin. Okay. Descriptive.
Descriptive.
Very good. Descriptive.
Descriptive.
Okay, what descriptive means, if I say, hey, what up? That's not very descriptive. And a lot of people hear that. It's a slang that a lot of the younger people are, hey, what up? Or I say, hi, what are you doing? Do you see the difference? There's a lot more. Or I say, hi, I see you're painting your fence today. If you notice, each one gets progressively more with the details, or progressively more specific. And you'll have a lot of times, especially younger people, they don't use any descriptions at all. They make you just guess. But my favorite one is what up. And our family hates that because it's really bad grammar, really, really bad. But you will hear it. Okay. The next one is lurks.
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 Okay, you probably will not hear this word much. It's in a really, really old application. And what it means is kind of like somebody comes up and goes, ooh, or gets kind of keeps creeping up next to you and maybe like touches your shoulder. It's a little bit on the creepy side. You know, we have a reason why we have this on the vocabulary list we'll talk about a bit later. But lurks is a word you won't hear much. You might hear it at Halloween a little more than any other time. But we'll go into that a little bit later. Okay, experience. John?
Experience.
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 Very good. Okay, experience means you've done it before. Okay? Chuck has never had experience being a student in ESL. So you're above him. You've all had experience. Okay. With those words in mind, we're going to go on to the next section. Okay, what we're going over today is just some different ways that we write. Okay, the first one we have is probably one of the simplest things that you do at home. You either keep a calendar for appointments, like I said, places and things you have to do. Sometimes you do it on your phone. Sometimes you'll write it down. Sometimes you'll put a little bitty note on the refrigerator. The simplest form of this would be a Post-it note. Say you have a Post-it note, say Dee Dee's child's name was Henry. It said, Henry, be home by 11 or you're in trouble. Or Henry, get home by 10. They're really short little sentences, maybe not even a sentence, like a little note or memo. You see those little bitty Post-its? They're like this big. Well, you know you can't write much on there. And that's what they usually use for like a note or a memo. That's the simplest kind of a communication you can do for writing. Another kind you can do is keeping a calendar for appointments. Now, if you have an appointment somewhere, it really is up to you what you want to be reminded of. The most important thing is you always need the date. You need to know when you have to be somewhere, the date, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever. You need to know maybe the time, like 7 or 8, but make sure if you do the time you put PM or AM. So right now we have a date of Monday, 7 a.m., let's say. Then you need to know the person or the place that you're going. You might say Monday, 7 a.m., see Cindy, okay? Or you might say Monday, 7 p.m., see Dr. Green. Now, when Ted first came home from the hospital, I'll use a little example here. He was very sick for a long time, as some of you know. Some of you have met Mr. Chuck before. Anyway, and when he came home, he maybe had like, I'd probably say 7 to 10 doctors he had to go back to. And we had not only met these doctors maybe once when he was sick, we really didn't know him that well. So at that time, I had to put down the address also, and one other thing was a phone number. Because what would happen was, the next point is to write clearly. And you gotta remember what details you need and to write clearly. And I would go back and I'd say, that writing's cold. I don't know what the world I wrote. So that note didn't do me any good. But if you have a phone number or a person or a place, you can always look it up. So depending on what you're doing is how much of this detail you use. Okay, now we're going to do a few sentences. We're going to pretend that these are different sentences and how we add things to them to make them more clear. Now, we do add what's technically called an adjective or an adverb. Now, an adjective adds something or explains a person, place, or thing, or a noun. An adverb adds more detail to a verb. So we're not going to get into that to do that too much. I just want you to see the difference and how it makes your writing better. Okay, example, October 5th, 2020. Today I went to the grocery store. I have no idea why anybody would write that down in a journal. We're going to pretend we're writing in a journal now. I went to Food Lion grocery store. Right away you see Food Lion is a specific grocery store. The store had some super sales and I bought a lot of meat. So I went crazy. I went to the grocery store, bought a bunch of stuff. Hamburger was on sale. I spent way too much money. Now here's an interesting word. You may or may not know what this is. And the way this is pronounced is Cheetos. Chuck, you want to try that one?
Cheetos.
And they look just like this. Okay?
Yeah.
This is what's commonly known as junk food. That's another slang that people use for this, or like chips or something like that. We all know what junk food is. So anyway, I bought Cheetos, our favorite kind of chips. I bought 7 bags. Now, that's a lot of details for went to the grocery. I probably would stick up there to today I went to the grocery. But in this particular sentence, we have lots of adjectives. Okay, hamburger was on sale. I spent 2, this is much too much. And favorite, 7 bags. I bought 7 bags. So that's just a really general example. Now, the thing about journals or diaries is you never know. A famous diary was written by a young lady in Germany, and she was in hiding with her family during the times when Hitler was out persecuting the Jews. And her name was Anne Frank. And she had no idea that years later this would be like required reading for all the children in school, or this would be something that people would be interested in. She would write about her daily life or things that happened when she was in captivity. It's a very interesting book if you haven't had a chance to read it. You can read it. It's not really like hard to read, but you'll have to take your time so you understand a little. And the one quote she put in her diary that she's often famous for says, "Writing a diary is a strange experience for a person like me. I do not think anyone would be interested in my life." So she was dead wrong. Everyone was interested in what she had to say. Now, a diary is another word for a journal. A journal is usually more general. A diary is very personal. And one thing she wrote in her diary that I always, when I was a kid, I always remember is she found this little bitty potato, right? She said you could fit it easily in the palm of your hand. And there was like 8 people to feed. And she took that potato and she cooked it for dinner for 8 people. And at the time, a detail like that, who would have cared? She had no idea that later people look at that and they say, that's really something that you don't. That's something special. And she had a very positive attitude. Just a young lady in a really bad circumstance. But people got inspiration from her because of the way she handled it. Okay, another diary, which is called The Notebook. Now, some of you, I'm sure, go to the movies. And this turned into a full production cinema thing. And at our house, some things we call dribble. It's another slang word for something that's just over the top romantic or over the top silly. And this one's kind of like that. And one of the quotes that's in this book, this is not the best quote they have, but I like this one a lot, that said, "Each day is full of beauty and strength if we look for it." And that's something that a guy just wrote when he was writing the whole movie is about this notebook that was found and the things that he wrote. I'm going to do Moby Dick and then we'll go on. Okay, Moby Dick is a huge book that was written about this guy whose name was Ahab and he was hunting a whale. And his famous quote is, "There's a sweet mystery about the sea and what lurks beneath it." Okay, we're going to skip over this part. Maybe you can do that at home. And here's one you can work on at home. My niece had a baby today. There's your basic sentence. See what all you can put in there. We're going to do just a little bit of pronunciation. Now, if you can't pronounce a word, if you go to dictionary.com, there is an app that will sound it out for you. Okay? And these little words on the side here are just words that help you to pronounce them. So Chuck, we're going to do these pretty fast. If you can follow with me. Dictionary.
Dictionary.
This is a really hard one. Squirrel.
Squirrel.
Very good. 6.
6.
Penguin.
Penguin.
Okay. Scissors.
Scissors.
And see how over here on the right hand side it makes it a whole lot easier to pronounce. Okay, here's one you might go to Starbucks and ask for. Espresso.
Espresso.
Good. And here's one that's always messed up. It's a tiny little word. Lots of people say it wrong. Either.
Either.
Now my plan is they have a list of the 100 most mispronounced words. And we're going to start doing these as I teach each week, just to give you an idea. They're not that hard if you break them out into syllables. Now, here's a Bible verse for tonight. It says, "I will put my laws in your mind and write them in your heart." So, Chuck, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to write. Be good, Chuck.
Ouch, that would hurt.
Yeah, be good, Chuck. Is that the way it works? Can you write something in somebody's heart?
No.
No, you can't. So what in the world is he talking about? Well, how is God going to write something in your heart? What he's going to do is he's going to put it in your mind first, and that's going to go into your heart. And one of the things you have to remember, our God that we worship, whatever you need to know in your heart or whatever is on your heart, he will listen to and he will answer. So this is a good verse to remember. It's Hebrews 8:10, and it's the bottom half of the verse. So I guess we're pretty much out of time, but it's really been fun to have you today, and I hope you have a great week. And next week, Marge will be teaching, and then the following lesson I'll be back again. Thanks for listening.